Hi everyone, my name's Britton Cline, Ad Sales Manager, and welcome to this week's edition of Marketing Minutes by Scuba Diving Industry Magazine.
And I'm William Cline, publisher. And if you're watching this series and would like to get on this show, reach out to Britton and I. We'd love to have you on the show.
That's right.
Britton, who do we got lined up for today?
Yes, so today we have Joep Weterman, founder of Divr and a PADI instructor. Joep, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Britton, and thank you, William, for having me. Really excited to be on the show.
Well, thanks for joining us today. So, Britton, this software is so unique. It really has the ability to change the entire world through diving. So I can't wait to jump into today's show.
Yeah, to dive right in, I'd really love if you could tell the industry a little bit about your background, right? And what maybe led you to create Divr, and what sets that apart from different apps and sites.
Good question.
Yeah, a very good question. Thank you. So I started diving when I was 11 in Curacao. My whole family dives, so I was born into it. So I started diving as 11. I was a really hyper kid. So the diving instructor said, "Okay, this can go either two ways. Either he calms down in the water, or it's pure chaos."
Yeah.
Luckily, it was the first. So after that, it was always my happy space and the place I went to calm down. So I kept diving all the way, and then I turned 18. I finished high school. I need to decide what I wanted to do with my life, so I chose to go study in Rotterdam, which is one of the bigger cities in the Netherlands. And I chose to study econometrics, which is statistical modeling and a lot of the statistics and mathematics, which I quite enjoy and I'm quite good at as well. However, after my bachelor, I was like, okay, this is not everything I love. So I took a gap year to get my dive master and get my instructor ratings. And I did that in Thailand and in the Philippines, which was a really lovely year. I loved being there and I loved experiencing everything that's there to experience. And I also fell in love with teaching people about ocean conservation, marine conservation, and how everything works. Those specialties which I gave, the PADI-aware specialties in particular, are the ones I enjoyed the most. So back home, because I took an interest in more of like the conservation side and the biodiversity as well, I was reading through some research, and I came to the realization that most data which is used in biodiversity research is not continuous. And that was really weird for me because as an econometrician, every research or analysis which I do is on a continuous data set. So while finishing I started my master's degree in Rotterdam, so I was back home in the Netherlands. I started reading into it, and I was like, okay, I think there's nothing that gathers these data in a continuous way, because the most common thing is survey divers, which is go into water maybe once a month or maybe once every 2 months, all depending on how much money the marine parks have or the research institutions have. So then I was like, okay, but we have recreational divers going into the water and seeing exactly what is there and what isn't there. So there needs to be a connection or a bridge built between those recreational divers and those researchers. But then I started emailing a lot of universities and doing research in marine biology and a lot of different institutions like Coral Watch, Reef Foundation, Reef Check, basically with the question, hey, if we gathered this data, would that be useful? And then I felt that everyone was really nice and was like, okay, everyone wanted to talk to me about it and was really eager to explain to me why it would work or why it wouldn't work. So, and then after all those conversations, I came to the conclusion that if you structure it in the right way, it definitely is useful. So then I started developing the app and developing the platform. And that was about 5 or 6 months ago. And now it launched on 9th of August. Which is really exciting and everything went well. And to come back on the last question, why is it different? Of course, you have different social dive logging platforms. I'm not the first. However, I am the one and only that where every observation or every dive you do actually helps directly protect or better manage the ocean. So our data flows to OBIS and GBIF, which are two of the biggest biodiversity and marine databases in the world. So every dive you log or observation you log on Divr automatically flows to the biggest database actually used by researchers to better understand our ocean. And as well, we have a dashboard which marine parks can use to better manage their marine parks. So we're building the bridge between the tourists and recreational divers actually diving in the marine parks and the marine parks, because marine parks don't have the capacity to go diving in their own parks each and every day. However, it's really important for them to of course, know what is going on there to better understand it and also better manage it. So that's why it's different, because it helps research and it helps protect the thing that we all love as scuba divers, which is the ocean.
Well,
So
that's
that's
so
why I
awesome.
think it makes a
amazing.
difference.
And it's also
Totally.
free, Britton, which is cool.
Yeah.
So anybody can download it. Congratulations on your launch, by the way. And it's on the Google Store, the Apple Store, of course. So talk to us, show us, or walk us through, how does this marine logging process actually work?
I would love to. So I will wait a minute. If is the phone showing?
There we go.
Okay,
Yep.
great. Yeah. So this is your feed, and this is very familiar or similar to
Wow.
different dive logging platforms. So you have just a post, and you can of course click on it, and then you see all the different things that I
Wow.
photographed. I went diving in the Mediterranean a few weeks ago, which was really nice. Of course, that's standard conditions, equipment, gas cylinder. You can like it, you can comment, you can share it.
Wow.
Yeah, of course, you have a discover page as well, in which you can discover other divers, which had recent public posts. Then, of course, you can discover people, but you can also discover dive sites. We have currently 5.6 thousand
Wow.
geotech dive sites, spanning over 127 countries,
Sheesh, that's
That's
huge.
incredible.
which is
Wow.
really cool. And then, of course, you have the dive school tab, which definitely needs to be filled in more.
Mhm.
But that's something we should start working on. Hopefully, this podcast helps with that as well. Then, of course, we have a species database. We have 5.6 thousand or 4.7 thousand species in the database. Of course, there are more marine species. However, what's uniquely about our database is that it's only marine species that's relevant for scuba divers. A lot of deep sea taxa, which is
Wow.
normally in these databases, are still in divers databases, but in no reasonable way are scuba divers actually seeing those marine species. So it only leads to misidentification. So that's why we chose to only have diving relevant species in our database. Then, of course, you have your logbook, which is it's okay, it's normal, it's really nice, and you can see there's a private and there's a public. So there's a one with a private. Of course, if you log every dive, if you do 5 dives a day, you don't want to share each and every single one. So you can also choose to log it and share it with the researchers and share it with the marine parks, but not choose to share it with the people you're following or with other divers. So you can keep
Wow.
it private. And of course, you have your profile, which are a few stats, how many dives you did, how many sightings you did, and followers and buddies. Then we have a few badges as well, which is kind of gamifying the contribution to science part and the
Yeah.
habit of dive logging. And of course, then we have your species live list, which is basically like a Pokédex of all the species that you spotted.
Love
So you have
that.
a nice list
That's
of all the
cool.
species you spotted and
That's
logged
very cool.
So
on
cool.
Divr. But the coolest part is the logging, which is normally the most boring part. So if you log, you have your standard logging frame. So you have your title. So let's say morning dive, and then let's pick a dive set. I would choose White Rock. That was the standard dive site I went to in Thailand. And of course, your daytime, max depth, duration, shore boat, liveaboard, standard. Of course, you can add photos. So let's say I had this photo. And then a nice thing is that we can tag these photos. So you see there's a general. So for example, if it's a general picture of you on the boat or something that's not interesting for researchers, then you tag it as general. If it's a scenery, let's say from the reef or from the kelp forest or from the hard rock, then you can tag that. And then we have a separate bracket of all the scenery photos. And if you have enough pictures, of course, we can do an analysis on that over how the reef have changed over time, which is really interesting. And then lastly, we have species. If you took a really nice picture of a fish or of a shark, you can say, "Hey, this is a species photo." If you know it, you can tag it, so you can look up the species of it. Let's say if it isn't, but let's say it's a shark. or an like no shark,
Like a starfish in
and
this
then I
case,
can,
right?
and it's a starfish in this case, yeah.
Right.
uh, but then you can tag it, and then we have a picture
Wow.
actually tagged with the correct worms, which is the World Register of Marine Species, which all the researchers use, tagged, which is really useful for especially making, with AI coming up as well,
Mhm.
making computer vision models who are actually trained on that data or on good data is really important. So that helps with it then as well. Other than that, you can of course tag your buddy. Your buddy gets a notification from, hey, you tagged you in a dive, and you can copy that as well. So you don't have to log twice. So only one buddy has to log it.
Dang.
You can of course pick the dive school you're diving with. You have your conditions, your gear and gas, and you can load a preset. Because I always dive in the same gear, so then I can just load the preset in which I'm diving, which is in this case is my 3mm shorty, and I don't need to fill it in. And the nice part is the contribute to science part. So those are a few questions regarding the things you've seen and formulated in such a way that's useful for research. So first we ask about the coral health on a 1 to 5 rating, and the coral coverage as well, from a 1 to 5 rating as well. 1 meaning 0 to 20% coverage, and 5 meaning 80 to 100. The rest you can fill in yourself, I think.
Hmm.
And of course, you have some reef notes in which you can say, ah, I saw some bleaching or a crown of thorns outbreak or recent damage. And the coolest part, I think, is the quick species check. So based on the location you dove,
Dang.
we have a really big data set, which is GBIF and OBIS, and which we check, oh, which species are common there or which species can be sighted there. And then from that list, we ask a few questions or few species to the diver. So, for example, the silver salago. Did I see the silver salago? Okay. Maybe I saw single, maybe I saw a few, maybe I saw many, or maybe I see none at all, or maybe I'm unsure. But that way we get absence data as well, which is really useful for biodiversity because it's
Wow.
really useful to know if a species is there, but it's maybe even more useful to know if a species isn't there.
Right.
Um,
Interesting.
And it's also nice because if you would leave it empty, so only we also have the species sighting, so people can add their species themselves. But then most people will only take the cool stuff, so like barracudas, shark,
Right.
rays, or cool and beautiful fish. But it's really useful to also know the less interesting species. Let's look at the diadema crisis. If you had this app tracking or asking divers on a continuous beta basis if they saw sea urchins or diademas, then maybe it could have signaled the crisis beforehand. Of course, you have the litter debris as well, or litter or debris observed as well, and then dive location. For example, a lot of diving operators have their own dive sites and they don't want to share it. So if you choose to pin this dive, which means that it doesn't use the specific location of the GPS of the dive site, but from the computer or of the picture, because pictures have geotag locations and a
Correct.
time
Right.
most often. Then it uses the current location, and I can say set it as the same as the site. Set it as a new public site. Set it as a sensitive, so that means okay, people can still show roughly where it is, but in a 500 meter radius, it's blurred, so you don't know specifically which location it is. So, for example, if I am a diving operator and I have this lovely dive site, but I don't want to share it with my
Mhm.
with other people, then I can put it sensitive, and people can still log dives there. And with it, of course, flowing to research, but they don't know where it is. And of course, I can have also fully private dives. So just for me or the people I choose to share it with, which is really important as well. Then I can choose if I filled everything in. I can choose to save, and then I got a nice celebration dive logged, and then it's on the feed.
Wow.
Uh, and so simple is it. And then it automatically flows to OBIS and GWIF, and it also flows to the local marine, or if the marine protected area or marine park is using Divr, then it flows to their dashboard and their information as well for them to better manage the park. And the really cool thing about it as well, the contribute to science part, which I just showed, is also fully customizable. So, for example, if they want to track lionfish in the Caribbean, that's a big problem, of course, with an invasive species.
Right.
Then I can prompt it to always ask, or 20 or 50% of the time, ask people about lionfish and if they've seen any.
Wow.
which gives them direct insight in the things they actually want to know, which is, I think, pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's very
So
cool.
that's basically how it works.
It also helps, divers. A lot of people don't know the names of the fish they see, and unless they've done a fish ID course, and even then they might forget what they're called. So I love the idea of the prompts, which would help people remember the names of fish. So it's fascinating.
And a really cool survey screen. I mean, I'm personally a really big fan of anything visual. So to have your little 1 through 5 system with the color coordination as well, personally, simplicity, that's awesome. But I mean, what a tremendous amount of data.
Yeah.
That's incredible. That's literally compiled and organized for, I mean, other marine life collecting sites and organizations. I mean, you spoke to us a little bit about how that's compiled, but just so cool.
Yeah, it's really quite amazing. So you mentioned earlier about the dashboard, the retailer dashboard. Let's dig into that just a little bit, since the majority of our audience are dive shops or resorts out there. How can this new feature that you're getting ready to launch help them with their customers?
How can they get involved?
Yeah, I think there's a huge opportunity, and the diving operators are literally the gate to divers. So how most often work, I go to marine parks and I say, hey, I built this really cool thing and I think it might be useful for you. And they most of the time say, yeah, we think so too. We want to use it. And then I ask them to introduce me to those diving operators, to their diving operators, which is, of course, the way I get the divers in. So you can start from zero because the diving operators bring their own divers in and their own data in as well. And the cool part is, of course, you get a lot of dive operators say they're sustainable and helping conservation. However, this is a very tangible way that you can show that you're contributing to conservation. Literally, you can say, or you can use a marketable number. Yes, we delivered X marine biodiversity observation and X monitoring for corals to divers to our marine park, which helps better protect and better manage our marine park, which is a really nice thing to say, but also to have to prove that you actually do that is really nice. And that everyone gets that for free. If you want to use as a diving operator, you want to use it for free, then it's possible. However, the business model is on the diving operator dashboard, which is a tier above it, and then you get a little bit extra. For example, you get statistics. A lot of diving operators say, hey, we see turtles very often on this dive site. However, that's totally different that you have a number. Let's say 23 of the last 30 log dives here, we saw turtles.
Wow.
And that's actually a marketable number you can put on your website.
Yeah.
But besides that, you have a very nice dashboard. Which you can use as an education tool. And that is also really, really thing close to my heart, because me as an instructor, I would have loved to have this app for my students while diving. Of course, as an instructor, I say, hey, look to the fish, look at the coral, and look at the things you see. However, they start looking totally different at those things if they actually need to fill something in afterwards, and which contributes to better protecting their the ocean which they are visiting and the marine park they're visiting. As well, you get a dashboard and insight on the species and how your house reef is developing over time, which are all really cool insights, which you can of course use in conservation specialties which you're teaching, or just in your open water course, which is also really cool and really nice. I think as an instructor, I would have loved that to have that specific insight, especially because I'm a data guy as well. To have that specific data for your own house reef or for your own dive sites is really nice. So that's how Divr, I think, interesting for diving operators and dive schools. Besides that, of course, you're helping your marine park better protect and better manage their parks and their little piece of the ocean.
Well, totally. This has been a fantastic interview. I love every diver counts twice, once for the diver, once for the reef. This is a classic example of that in action. I want to thank you for coming on our show. This has been it's going to probably wrap us up for today, Britton. Keep in mind, thank you again for coming. I can't wait to see the next iteration of your dashboard and the different tools. Stay in touch with us, send us press releases, and we'll tell the whole world what's going on with the Divr app, right? Look for it in the Apple Store, look for it in Google Store.
That's right. And it's free. So get involved. Contact our friend Joep.
Love this. Thanks again for coming on the show. That's going to wrap us for today. Check out our YouTube channel. Check out scubadivingindustry.com. Subscribe for free. Watch all these packed videos. And I think that's going to wrap us for today, Britton.
Yeah.
Thanks again.